My sister didn't invite me to her wedding, so I took a luxury trip with my billionaire fiancé. When I opened the mailbox that morning, I didn't expect to see my sister's wedding invitation missing. I had known for weeks she was planning the big day, but she never mentioned a date or sent me details. Instead, I found out through a mutual friend's Instagram post. My heart sank. We weren't just sisters. We were best friends growing up. Or so I thought. I called her immediately, expecting some silly mistake. "Emma, why didn't I get an invitation?" I asked. There was a pause on the other end, then her voice turned cold. "It's just, the guest list is small. You live your own life now." My stomach twisted. Small. She invited our childhood neighbors, but not me. That cut deeper than I could have imagined. For days, I replayed our conversation in my mind. Had I done something to deserve this? I remembered how she barely spoke to me after I got engaged to Daniel, a man she claimed was too perfect to be real. Daniel, my fiancé, was a kind, generous billionaire who adored me. Maybe she envied my life, but would jealousy drive her to exclude me from her wedding? One evening, Daniel found me scrolling through photos of wedding venues online, tears welling in my eyes. "What's wrong, love?" he asked. When I told him, his jaw tightened. "If she can't celebrate you, then maybe it's time you celebrate yourself," he said, pulling me into his arms. That's when the idea sparked. If my sister didn't want me there, I'd make my own unforgettable weekend. Daniel suggested we fly to the Maldives the same weekend as her wedding. "You deserve to feel special, not left out," he said with that determined look I loved. At first, I hesitated, felt petty, but the more I thought about it, the more it seemed like the perfect way to reclaim my happiness. I wouldn't sulk at home while she walked down the aisle without me. We booked the presidential villa at a private island resort, complete with an infinity pool and a personal chef. Daniel told me, "If she doesn't want to see you happy at her wedding, the world will see you happy somewhere else." I smiled for the first time in days. The pain was still there, but it was starting to turn into something else: confidence. On the morning of her wedding, I woke up to the sound of waves gently lapping against the shore. Daniel brought me breakfast in bed: fresh, mango, pastries, and champagne. He kissed my forehead and whispered, "Let's make today about us." For once, I felt no urge to check my phone for updates about our big day. But the universe had other plans. As Daniel and I lounged by the pool, my phone buzzed. A notification from social media popped up. My sister in her wedding dress, looking radiant until I read the caption from a bridesmaid. "Too bad her sister couldn't be here." The comments section exploded with speculation. I decided to post my own photo: me in a white sundress, standing barefoot on a private beach, Daniel's arm wrapped around me. The caption read, "Celebrating love in paradise." Within minutes, my phone blew up. Friends and even distant relatives commented about how stunning we looked. I knew word would reach her. Sure enough, 2 hours later, my phone rang. It was my sister, her voice shaky. "Are you serious? You skipped my wedding to show off?" she demanded. I took a deep breath and replied, "No, Emma, you didn't invite me. I just chose not to sit at home crying about it." She went silent, and for the first time, I felt the power shift. Emma finally spoke, her voice laced with anger. "I didn't invite you because I didn't want drama. You always make everything about you." My chest tightened, but I kept my tone calm. "Emma, you made me your enemy without even giving me a chance to prove otherwise." I could almost hear her biting back tears, but she hung up without another word. Daniel sat beside me, his hand finding mine. "You didn't do anything wrong," he reassured. "Some people can't handle seeing others happy." I knew he was right, but part of me still wished my sister could have been happy for me, even if her own insecurities got in the way. Family bonds weren't supposed to break this easily. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Daniel planned a private dinner on the beach. Lanterns lined the sand, and a string quartet played softly in the distance. It was breathtaking. "If your sister could see you now," he whispered, she'd realize she pushed away someone who loves deeply. His words stung, because I still loved her. Halfway through dinner, my phone buzzed again this time. A text from my cousin. Emma cried after the ceremony. She said she wished you were there. I stared at the message for a long moment. My chest ached with a mix of relief and sadness. She had made her choice, but maybe she was finally starting to regret it. The next morning, I woke to dozens of missed calls from family members. Apparently, the photos Daniel and I posted had gone semi-viral among our relatives. Some thought it was beautiful. Others accused me of being insensitive. The truth was, I hadn't done it to hurt anyone, but I wasn't going to apologize for living my life. Daniel suggested we send Emma a gift. It's not about making peace, he said. It's about showing her you're not holding on to bitterness. I agreed. We ordered a delicate pearl bracelet with a note, wishing you a lifetime of happiness, your sister. I didn't expect her to reply, but at least the gesture would speak for itself. 2 days later, I got a message from Emma. No long explanation, no dramatic apology, just, "Thank you for the gift. We need to talk when you're back." My stomach flipped. I didn't know if she wanted to reconcile or lash out again, but I knew I had to face her eventually. When we returned home, I met Emma at a quiet cafe. She looked tired, her makeup-free face showing signs of stress. "I was wrong," she said, almost in a whisper. "I let my jealousy ruin our relationship. Seeing you happy, it made me realize I've been focusing on the wrong things." I listened quietly, letting her speak. She admitted she felt overshadowed since Daniel came into my life, fearing she'd never have the kind of love I had. It was hard to hear, but it explained so much. "Emma," I said softly, "I never wanted you to feel less. You're my sister. Nothing can replace that." Tears filled her eyes as she reached across the table. "I want to fix this. I don't care if you're with a billionaire or living in a tiny apartment. I just want my sister back." My throat tightened, but this time, the ache was from hope, not heartbreak. Maybe this chapter wasn't about revenge. After all, it was about healing. We sat there for hours, sipping coffee that had long gone cold, talking about things we hadn't shared in years. Emma told me stories about the wedding's small disasters, funny moments, and how she kept looking at the empty chair she had once reserved for me in her mind. It felt like she was peeling away years of resentment, piece by piece. Over the next few weeks, Emma and I started calling each other regularly. She invited me over for dinners, sometimes with her husband, sometimes just the two of us. We laughed about old childhood memories, and I began to see glimpses of the sister I had once known, playful, caring, and fiercely loyal. When we stood to leave, she hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. "Don't let me push you away again," she murmured into my shoulder. I promised her I wouldn't, but I also knew trust had to be rebuilt slowly. Words were one thing. Actions would show if she truly meant it. Daniel noticed the change in me. "You're lighter," he said one evening as we cooked together. He wasn't wrong. Mending things with Emma had lifted a weight I didn't even realize I'd been carrying. For the first time in a long while, I felt whole again. One Sunday, Emma called and asked if she could join us for a charity gala Daniel was hosting. I was hesitant at first, worried she might feel out of place, but she assured me it wasn't about the glitz or the crowd. "I just want to be part of your life again," she said sincerely. At the gala, she surprised me. She mingled with guests, spoke passionately about causes she cared about, and even made Daniel laugh, a rare feat for someone he'd been cautious around. Watching them get along was something I never thought I'd see. Later that night, as we drove home, Daniel squeezed my hand. "She's trying," he said simply, and he was right. Emma was putting in the effort, not just with me, but with him too. It was a quiet but powerful sign that maybe we really could move forward. A month later, Emma invited us on a weekend trip to the mountains. She planned everything: cabins, hikes, even a little wine tasting. It wasn't extravagant, but it was thoughtful. It showed me that connection wasn't built through grand gestures, but through consistent, genuine care. On the final night of the trip, we sat around a fire pit, wrapped in blankets, sipping hot cocoa. Emma looked at me and said, "I used to think your life was perfect. But now I see it's not about perfection. It's about choosing love every single day." Her words stayed with me. That weekend became a turning point. The bitterness that had once defined our relationship seemed to dissolve in the crisp mountain air. We still had our differences, but we were finally choosing to see each other as family, not as competition. And that choice made all the difference. Back in the city, Emma and I kept our promise to stay connected. We shared Sunday brunches, shopping trips, and late-night calls when life felt overwhelming. Slowly, the wedding became less of a painful memory and more of a reminder of how far we'd come. Daniel often joined us, and I noticed how protective he became of Emma, almost like an older brother. He never mentioned the past slight, never held it over her. That quiet grace made me love him even more, and I knew Emma respected him for it. One afternoon, Emma handed me a small envelope. Inside was a handwritten note. "I want you to be my daughter's godmother." Tears blurred my vision. It was her way of telling me that not only was I back in her life, but I was at the very center of it. The day her daughter was born, I held that tiny bundle in my arms and felt something shift inside me. All the old resentment, the hurt, the anger, it melted away. This baby was the bridge between our past and our future. Emma watched me rocking her daughter and whispered, "I'm so glad you didn't give up on me." I smiled, knowing there had been times I almost did. But family, at its core, is about forgiveness, even when it's hard. We started building new traditions, holiday dinners that included both our families. Summer vacations together, even spontaneous road trips. The bond we had now was stronger than anything we'd shared before, precisely because we had fought to rebuild it. One evening, as we watched a sunset on a family trip, Emma leaned over and said, "You know, missing my wedding was the worst thing that ever happened to us and the best." I laughed, understanding exactly what she meant. If she had invited me, maybe we would have stayed polite but distant. Instead, the rift forced us to face our flaws, our jealousy, and our pride. And from that confrontation, something unshakable grew. Today, when I look at Emma, I don't see the sister who once left me out. I see the woman who fought her way back into my life, who learned to love without competition, and who taught me the same. And as for Daniel, he often says that forgiveness is the most luxurious gift we can give. He's right. My sister and I have learned that love, once broken, can be mended. Not into what it was, but into something far stronger, more beautiful, and built to last.